Ladies and gentlemen, it is our second vodcast, and I'm very excited to have the amazing Carolyn Johns opposite me today. We're going to have a bit of fun. We share a birthday as well, 19th of February. We tell everyone, 19th of February. Shall we say the years?
No.
Okay, we'll give that a miss. But
I'm older, so...
So Carolyn is a senior child bereavement counsellor at a friend's place. She has a background in psychology and 20 years as a school counsellor in a private Sydney high school. Mm-hmm. Carolyn transitioned to a friend's place 16 years ago. We're 16 or 17? 16. It's 2026 now, 16 years ago. Initially supporting the children's grief groups. Yeah. Today she's a specialist children's grief counsellor leading the fortnightly group, teaching and facilitating weekend camps for bereaved children and families. Carolyn is part of the centre's teaching team and is known for her warmth, insight and ability to help children find courage in their grief.
Really?
Yeah.
You've added that.
She lives with her husband,
yes,
two teenage children, a border collie and a bearded dragon.
I do, yes.
How about that? That's a lot.
It's a lot.
How's the bearded dragon?
Oh, she's all right. Her name's Sunny. But recently my daughter and I went on holidays and left my husband and son to look after the dog and the dragon. But my husband dropped the container of woodies, which are cockroaches. So, yeah, you can imagine what it's like to feed a dragon. It's gross.
Where do you get the cockroaches from?
Pet shop. They have to be bred.
Do
they can't just be from the garden. Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. I'd like to talk more about that, but we'll get down to that a little bit later. The whole bred cockroaches thing is very interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are here to talk about a friend's place and the amazing work that is done in these walls. I guess wanted to start off with understanding about your journey from your high schooling as a counsellor to a friend's place is quite significant. And what was the turning point that made you realise you wanted to focus on grief work with children?
So I know exactly when it was. It was 2007, and Mal and Di McKissick, the founders of A Friend's Place, came to the school I worked at for a one-day seminar with senior staff about grief. And I sat there like a sponge and I thought, something was just, a passion ignited. And that year in my own personal life, I'd had 3 significant deaths that I was dealing with. And as they spoke, it was like everything made sense. And it was very different to what I'd been taught at uni in my psych degree, which is practically nothing and still remains practically nothing from what I can gather. But when they were speaking about grief being chaos and so many big thoughts and feelings all at once, just in a big bundle in your head, it's like everything made sense that they were saying, and I thought, I want to do more of that. And in a big school, almost every child and that young person you come across has some sort of loss, not always a death, but the loss of being able to play in the A's for rugby, or the loss of the drama production lead, or whatever it might be.
So grief being different.
Everywhere.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be death.
Everywhere.
It's grief of loss of.
Yeah. So I did the main courses that were run here at A Friend's Place back then. So I did those. I was going to do it in 2008, but I had a child instead. So 2009, I did my training here. I did all the courses that we ran. And then 2010, I started as a volunteer in one of the kids groups, which run fortnightly. And then after a few years of doing that, I was part-time with my school counsellor role and 1 day a week here. And then that sort of, a few years ago, I thought, no, I want to do this full-time. And I was realising that because grief is a universal thing, we're all in this together, and I won't be alone in saying this, I'm sure my other colleagues feel the same. Not everyone feels depressed or anxious or has an eating disorder, but we all go through this, and that really appeals to me.
It's amazing. Just to touch, and obviously I'm not a counsellor or have any training in that, but like going back to, you mentioned about your education and that it's not taught.
So
Grief.
in my psych degree, so I was at 4 years at uni, I had one hour lecture on grief, and I was taught the 5 stages of grief, which clinically speaking in our work here at a friend's place isn't so helpful. So and as being part of the teaching team here, I've realised that not all grief training is equal. And so other professionals come to us for our training believing that they've had really solid backgrounds in that sort of learning. And we realised that, doctors' degrees, nurses' degrees, school counselling, psychs, social workers don't get a lot of grief training in their core degrees.
So there's a massive gap.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or what they're taught is very, it's not always helpful or relevant.
No, I've noticed that just in talking from a fundraising and educating myself and learning that is that it is very specialised, and there just isn't that education on
No.
it wide, or in-depth education.
No, there's not. And also not everyone wants to do grief work, and not everyone can do grief work, because sitting with people's distress is not an easy thing, and not everyone wants to do that or can do that. And that's okay. We're all different. Like, I can't be a plumber and I can't build a house. I can sit with someone when they're upset. But not everyone can. And so, the work's not for everybody.
No, yes, it's an interesting journey as we develop some more things and courses here too.
Yeah.
It's great fun. Can you share a memory from one of your early grief groups at a friend's place that showed you how different childhood grief is from what you'd seen in school counselling?
I was really nervous when I first started. Despite working with children and young people my whole career, I was still really nervous because these kids were vulnerable, letting me into their stories, their really personal stories. And what struck me from day one was their willingness to share and be honest about their pain and their love for their parent who died. And that comes down to, I think, how safe they feel here at a friend's place. And kids don't always feel that safe at school to talk about that stuff, but they did here. And that goes back to 30 plus years of what dynamic is set up. So I was struck by how open the kids were and how their little faces, still now I love this part of my work, that grief is mostly about love, and I love love. So asking a child to tell me about your dad, or tell me about your mum who died, or tell me about your brother or sister who died, their faces change and they light up, and they mostly, and when they start talking about their love for their parent who died, it's like they need this, and where else can they talk about it? So, their peers don't understand. They don't want to upset surviving parent in case, they get distressed. So there's not many places for these kids to stay connected, be allowed to stay connected to their loved one who died. And that's what struck me. So it's not really a specific memory. It was more I don't want to sound like I'm in the castle, but the vibe of the place. It was,
you can read the castle.
kids were allowed to be vulnerable, and the respect in the room was inspiring. And every fortnight, I usually turn up to group, even now, having done it for years, feeling a bit knackered. And, we worked all day, and then team comes and we're all, we're so tired and busy and blah, blah, blah. And then we spend an hour with these kids, and it's like we're filled with their energy and I think spending time with their parents who have died. Like, you meet some really great people, but they're not alive working here. So, so it's not really answering your question. There's not a specific memory, but I remember feeling safe because the kids felt safe. And I remember just feeling the privilege and honour of, and it sounds cheesy when I say those words out loud, but it's a true privilege to sit there and be allowed into that circle with a child and young person and a group of kids. That's even more powerful.
How often are the kids in the group? Like, are they there a year or
So our groups are
longer?
free and unlimited.
Yep.
So we've had kids come in the group for 3, 4, 5 years.
Okay.
They might start when they're 8 and leave when they're 15. But sometimes what happens is over time, the child or young person might get all they can out of group. So footy training might take priority, or their dancing rehearsals, or dinner at at actual friend's place, not this friend's place, might take priority. So they'll start missing some fortnights, and they might come and their first question might be, are we going to play a game tonight? And you think, okay, this child has lots of life around them. They've learnt lots of skills and ways to live with their grief, learn to live with their grief. Maybe they're ready to graduate. So we call it a graduation when a child leaves group. So we have a ceremony around that. And, when life becomes more foreground for these kids, they're ready to leave group. And that's okay. That's really good. That's what we want. And we feel really proud when they leave, but we're also really sad because we miss them. But, so often that'll come around organically. The child will just know they're ready. And sometimes they need a little push because we as clinicians know that they've probably got all they can therapeutically from the group. So they probably need to make room for another child that needs it more at the moment. But they can still come back for individual counselling.
Yeah, okay.
For free until they're 18.
Till they're 18. It's amazing. So over the 16 years, you've watched the landscape change. What shifts have you noticed in how children, families, and society understands or responds to grief?
I wish there were more shifts.
Yeah.
I think more people are in this space now. So there's more professional development out there for it. There's more talk about grief and death, on the radio and on TV shows. And I think there's more awareness of it. I think there's still so many myths and misconceptions about grief, particularly children's grief. I think it's still really misunderstood, and it's still very culturally informed. So, Sydney, Australia, 2026, it's still very uncomfortable for people if someone cries in front of them or talks about their dead person that they loved, or so there's a long way to go. So I'm sort of sitting here thinking there's much more conversation about it now than when I first started, but we're still learning, I think, to manage it better.
I guess two follow-ups. The myths and the misconceptions that you sort of talk about. What are some?
So things like, kids don't grieve, they're resilient. And kids are resilient mostly, but they're still grieving 100% like an adult is. They just might show it differently. So if a young child doesn't have the words to explain how they're feeling or what they're thinking, they'll show you in their behaviour. And they'll dip in and out of their grief quicker than an adult does. So they'll cycle in and out. And so someone might see a child playing and being silly with their friends and thinking, oh, they're over it, they're not grieving, they're resilient. They're still grieving 100%. They just need a respite from that pain. So they're having a play, which is what children do. So they just grieves still the same as we do, but it looks different. And so that's misunderstood, I think. Also, I think what's misunderstood is the developmental changes that can happen over time with grief. So I think a misconception is that grief will just get better over time and then eventually not be there anymore. But we know kids who have had a parent die or a sibling die, they'll be grieving that person forever. If they've loved them, they'll love them forever. And so, again, you'll hear my colleagues say, people die, but relationships live forever.
Yeah.
And so a young child with a mum that's died, that mum will always still be their mum, always, forever. They'll miss and love their mum forever. And so one of our big roles is to help that child feel connected to their mum forever. But it won't look the same as they grow older. But, a 16-year-old girl whose mum died or dad died when she was 8, when you're 8, you can't grieve like you're 16.
Yeah.
So when you're 16, you're getting your L's. Well, Dad said he was going to take me driving and now he can't. When you're 25, 26, 33 and getting married, well, I always thought as a young girl that my dad would walk me down the aisle and now he can't. So it's that shift as kids get older and those transitions in life. Yeah, and that your parent's not there for it. It's just unfair. And it brings grief to the foreground again. So it's not about, as you get older, grief lessens. The pain's still there, it just is more foreground, background as things happen in your life.
How do you think, and this is a bigger question, how do we better educate? How do we get to the many? Obviously,
Come and do a Friends Place course. They're brilliant.
They are. They
I'm just
they
saying
are.
that because I
have
teach.
I have done one.
You're really good.
They are really good. It was hard for me to do it, but it was really
absolutely.
good. But like, how do we? There's so much information about the cost and when we prevent mental health problems down the track, and whether it's workplace and the productivity reports from government, are all there for everyone to read. The investment in mental health is significant.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of 16 years of it, and like how do we get into more classrooms, people, and have those conversations where a parent can or me as a friend to someone can have an appropriate conversation with someone who has the death of a child or otherwise, and it not feel awkward. And you're not.
Well, even you saying the word death, huge change in language from passing away or whatever other euphemisms you might want to use. But I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
What I wish would happen is that conversations about death and dying can happen within a household from the day someone's born.
Yeah.
And every Disney movie you ever see, most Disney movies have had a parent die in the first scene. Nemo, Cinderella, you name it, there's been parental death. And Lion King, classic. So what I wish would happen is that it's more incorporated into life, those conversations, and that people can ask questions, young people can ask questions of adults and not be shut down, or for it not to be minimalised, or I don't know.
No, that's okay. We're
working
have
on it.
all the answers.
We're working on it.
None of us do.
The problem is people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So that's always the case, isn't it, from any topic?
Yeah.
And also grief is really hard to measure. So in terms of, I'm going to do 10 sessions of some sort of therapy with a person with depression, and they're also going to take medication, and then after 6 to 12 months we can measure, is their depression symptoms easing? With grief, it's not like that, because I might be living with my grief fine, and then I'll be in Coles and reach for a cereal that I don't need to buy anymore, and it's like, whoosh, hits me again. So if you ask me on that day to measure, has my grief gotten better? No, it hasn't. It's really awful today. So grief is hard to measure. So I think that makes it trickier, just getting people to understand the benefits of grief counselling and the work that is out there.
Yeah.
So again, it doesn't answer your question, but
No,
I think that makes it harder.
It does.
It just is so, it's almost impossible to measure.
Yeah. I, you know, in a fundraising role within the organisation and, social impact and all those
That's the
things,
issue.
people are going, how do you...
How do we know what you're doing
measure
works?
it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen is that the best is for the stories of these kids, from the group.
Absolutely.
You hear them
And we have amazing young people return to our service to give back. And I think what a testament to how we've supported them over the years. So we've had 5 of our support workers at the moment who help with our groups and with our camps have been children that come through our service. So, and they come back volunteering and wanting to give back to the other kids. So
It's amazing.
that's a really lovely thing that can happen too.
Yeah. With you personally, with your children, how has it affected, I guess, you as home?
Yeah.
Like, grief is like, as a counsellor, I sit here and I don't know how you do it often some days, like with the the sadness that comes in, and then you're going home to your own children and families, and like, how do you best look after yourself through that? And has it changed how you've interacted with your own families?
It definitely changed the language I use around my kids and people I know, my friends, and my extended family, around using the words death and dying and dead. And it's changed. I used to not, before I started working here, I used to not be in photos. I don't have any newborn photos of me with my babies because I thought, I'm fat and ugly, I'm tired, I'm having a makeup, so I didn't want to have photos of that. Now I don't believe in regrets really, but I wish I'd had that first newborn photo, and I didn't want to do that at the time. And now, so I'm in the photos now, and I realise after working here that photos are such a special memory for kids who've had a parent that's died. Sometimes that's all they have. And that child does not care if their mum looks tired or hasn't done their hair, or, they don't care about that. They just want to see their mum. So that's changed. And I probably cry more openly in front of my kids, but I still, even after knowing it's okay to cry, it's one of our rules here at a friend's place, I still do hide that a little bit in my personal life. But, I had an old family dog die last year, and I remember just sitting there, and I couldn't help it, like tears were just leaking out. And Mel McKissick calls tears liquid love, and it's like I actually couldn't control it. So the kids saw me crying all the time. And I cry at the drop of a hat. So I'm veering off topic here. But in my personal life, it's definitely changed. And I'm more open to asking people who I know have had someone die. I'm more open to asking them, tell me about him or tell me about her. And you'll see their whole body language change, because not many people can ask those questions because they're scared to upset someone.
Yeah.
Or you're scared to remind them that their husband died. I don't need a reminder of that. You're not reminding them.
Yeah.
But most people want to talk, if they've loved someone, most people want to talk about them. So I've learnt to do that. And I'm sort of forgetting what the initial question was, but
It doesn't matter.
just to be open and honest, curious.
Yeah.
I love being curious about people who have died, because, again, the person on the other side of that conversation values it. They really value it.
Because you hear lots of stories of, after the first 4 to 6 weeks, that funerals and people around and life goes on. And I've heard some stories here from some parents who have just even more isolated there because people have stopped
Absolutely.
calling. And as I say, and at the school gate, they're not talking to them, and they
No,
cross the road, and
it's so isolating.
and this was this specific lady, you know, it was around suicide, you know, so it was. She was saying that she's even more isolated than she was
Yep.
before because people who she used to talk to don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And she might not get invited places anymore.
Mm.
And definitely the whole topic will be avoided wherever she goes, probably.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, we hear stories like that all the time. And for kids who, you know, it's even more isolating for them potentially because they don't want to talk about it with mum because that's so upsetting for her.
Mm.
Their peers just don't understand. We hear story after story of well-meaning peers, but sometimes also it can be weaponised in a school. Like
Yeah.
kids are way more vulnerable to bullying if
Yeah.
they've had a parent that's died. But we hear stories of, you know, a friend saying, "Oh, I know you feel. My mum and dad are divorced, and I hardly ever get to see my dad." It's like, hey, it's not the same. This child will never see their dad again.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I know how you feel and the dog died. It's like, yeah, I know a pet death is significant. I know that. I lived with it last year. They're part of the family, but it's not like a parent dying. So people make comparisons like that all the time, thinking, "Oh, I understand," but it just falls flat. And people don't know what to say, so they either say nothing or a platitude like "it'll be okay." These kids know that the worst possible thing in their life has happened. They know it's not okay. So, yeah, but there's lots of things people say in wanting to be helpful that just aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that.
I'm veering off every time you
No. I mean, having had the death of, you know, Lachlan, I appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
And one thing I actually just wanted to touch on was the bullying aspect.
Yeah.
And, you know, from your group experience, like how prevalent
So
is that
a few,
in schools when, and like a child who's experienced the death of a...
unfortunately really prevalent. So
It's mind blowing, you know. I mean, like it's...
yeah. So
when I first
kids,
heard that, it was like,
kids who are vulnerable are more likely to get bullied, and when you're a child who is grieving, you're more vulnerable, so you're more of a target. And unfortunately, other kids can weaponize that. And so again, story after story of, you know, oh, no wonder your dad died, or I don't know, just bringing it up in a way that's really hurtful. But lots of kids aren't. Like, I don't want that to be a focus, but we hear lots of stories. And when I ask my group kids, I even did, I said, hands up who's been bullied or someone said something mean to you about your parent who has died or because your parent has died. They all put their hand up without hesitation. And in my one-on-one clients, a lot of them have as well. And it's really sad. It just makes it even harder.
It is, it's terrible.
Yeah. But, you know, a lot of young people have lovely, supportive friends.
Yeah.
That's all good. But
No.
the hard ones are really hard.
It was a shock to me to hear
Yeah.
you know,
Me too.
like,
Me too.
and with bullying and...
Yeah.
And
And there will be the kids who give this vulnerable child a hard time, and then that vulnerable child will then lash out and get suspended because they've hit someone. And it's like, why did you hit them? Well, he was going on about my dad.
yeah.
I don't want to knock them
And
back.
then,
Violence,
they end up being,
you know,
the aggressor and in trouble and...
Yeah. But and it's so hard to manage in a school. It's really hard to manage. I'm not saying it's an easy thing. Bullying's one of those things that is a nightmare for schools to manage. But yeah, certainly kids are more vulnerable there.
Thank you for your take on that, because it's just something which I was blown away with.
Yeah.
And again, my brain's like, how do we help fix that?
I know.
With all the other bullying that goes and
Yeah.
what you see in, you know, the reasons why suicide schools and other aspects.
So, you know, if we're curious about what's going on behind that behaviour, we can support it a little bit. And also be somewhere safe where kids can say how hard it is and admit that someone said this awful thing to them, or admit that they're really sad.
Yeah.
And they can't always admit that everywhere.
Yeah.
Or they're angry, or, they have hateful feelings towards their father who died. That's hard for them to say most places.
Yeah. True. Well, it's been amazing. You're amazing.
We're
love
wrapping
you.
up.
Yeah, I think so. I've got one last
fast.
one last question. It goes fast, doesn't it? Goes very fast. But thank you for taking the time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Carolyn's very fun. She's
Well, normally this has been very
it's really,
serious.
It's really the only reason I come to work.
This is
So, yeah.
but yeah, it's been more serious than probably what we intended.
Yeah, no, true. Because we do have fun here.
We do have a lot of fun. Get a group of grief counsellors together in the room. Boy, oh boy. Laugh a minute. That's, you asked, sorry, I know we're wrapping up, but you did ask me how I take care of myself. Laughing is one of my self-care go-tos, definitely. And getting rid of my unfinished stress before I get home is really helpful. I have my team that helps me with that. So I was answering a previous question.
No. We
Laughter brings hope.
Yeah, no, it does. I agree with that.
You can quote me on that.
Yeah, I will. I will. That'll be on the profile later on today.
Okay.
Yeah. We might use that, Ben, as our, headline for Carolyn. Quote. So there's a few other things she doesn't want to be quoted on, by the way.
No.
So, but I guess to finish up, to talk about your teaching role, just briefly on that and with a team, and I guess what you would like to pass on to counsellors, educators, or parents just beginning the work.
Okay. Firstly, I love the teaching because I'm in a room or on a Zoom with like-minded people who want to support grieving children and families. Like, I love that because there's a power in that. And I want anyone who wants to work in this space to have a lot of self-awareness, because grief counselling, you give your whole self when you're with a child or young person, and you need to really know yourself really well. So you need to know what will activate you. So I need to know that, my kids are 17 and 21. So if I'm with a 17-year-old or if I'm with a younger child and I have memories of when my children are at that age, that might activate me a little bit. So when I say activate, it might make me feel, my heart might flutter a little bit, or I might get tears in my eyes, or, I call them goosies, but yeah. So I need to know that about myself. And I need to know that, if someone talks about suicide, what my reaction to that is. I need to know what my reaction might be if someone's died by cancer, if someone in my life has died by cancer. So a lot of that self-awareness is really important and hard and challenging. But it's really important because we need to have our reactions not in front of our client. Like, we're there for them, we're not there for ourselves. So, that's probably what's really important as a startup point, being really self-aware. And that's a continuous process because our life circumstances change. So,
I guess every day is different for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you wake up and you've had a good day, bad day, or something's
and
changed.
so it's okay to have judgments about things and beliefs about death, dying, what happens when we die. So it's fine. We all have judgments about things. That's normal and human. But we don't want our judgments to cloud our work with the client. So, that's probably important. But come and do our courses.
We want more people to do this, that's for sure. Well, that's going to wrap us up. So
Okay,
thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
We are done on
Done it.
episode 2. We've got through another one. We've got the yellow chairs and everything today, so we've done a little bit different. We've got amazing Ben in the background there trying to work with us in the high...
The divas that we...
the talent that we have. But no, it's been fantastic. So thanks for coming
Great.
on.
Thanks, Ben.